Right guys, welcome back again. Ryan here from the London Craftsman, and thanks for watching. And today's video is all about how I do adjustable shelf pegs and the slots to fit in any wardrobe, media unit, cupboards, anything like that, anything that needs an adjustable shelf. I'm going to show you my technique or my way of doing it. Really cheap and cheerful, no expensive tools needed. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that and get started. Okay, so let's go and have a little look. I've got a couple of display units here which I've just made as prototypes, little testers. So they have adjustable shelves in. Well, this one has one in, and this is what I mean about how to make them adjustable. So it's just a run of holes, 50mm spacings in between each section, and I come in 30mm from the back edge to the hole and the same 30mm from this edge in. And this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how we make these templates and what tools to use. But they basically just go on these little pins, as you can see here, little metal pins, very discreet, very simple, and they're so much better, I find, than using those strips, those metal strips. I think they just look too big and bulky. A lot of people use slightly bigger pegs as well, or pins. These are only 5mm diameter, which they hold a fair amount of weight, quite a lot of weight. A lot of people would use 10mm, but again, I think they're just too big and chunky. So I opt for the 5mm pins, and I'm also going to show you how we do these little recesses at the back. So to stop the shelf sliding off, front or back, we do these little notches with the trimmer and a little mini flute cutter. So if you don't have a door here and you're just building a bookshelf and you don't want your shelf sliding backwards and forwards, then these little slots work wonders. So look, you can't move it at all. It's stuck on the slots. So yeah, let's go back into the workshop and show you how it's done. Sorry about the mess. Got a big birch job on at the moment. Okay, let's start with this side piece. Imagine this is the side of your cupboard, whatever you want it to be. It's just a little bit of scrap. I'm going to show you how we do the set of holes up both edges, and also on a shelf I'm going to show you how we do those slots on the underside to stop it sliding. Okay, so here we got drill with a 5mm drill bit. I've set myself up a little stopper. Very crudely. You can buy little stoppers that just screw onto your drill bit, but just make sure you use a nice sharp 5mm drill bit. I've got a handful of pins. Again, I just buy these in bulk because I use so many of them. 5mm diameter is my choice. Tape measure, combination square. A bradle, so it's really important to use a bradle, just a sharp point, or you can use anything sharp, pencil. And I'm using a bit of scrap here, which is scrap 6mm birch, which will last a little bit longer as my template. It could be any size you like. If you're doing wardrobes, obviously you'd use a long strip, which is 8 foot long maybe. If you're doing lower alcove units or smaller work, then you don't need a massive one. Just judge it and use the piece accordingly that you need. Okay, so let's go and set up this camera and get cracking. Okay, so let's get started. Right, so imagine this is the side of your alcove unit, cupboard, whatever you want it to be, and you need two sets of holes, one set at the back, one set at the front, with your adjustable shelves coming off that side. So let's put that down there for now. Ultimately, what we need to do is make a template, and this template can be used for any work that you need, and I'm making it out of birch as it's going to last a little bit longer, and you'll be able to use it for a little bit longer without the holes getting bigger and bigger and sort of rounding over and having to replace it constantly. So this might last 5-10 jobs. So when you make a template, you need to take into account your first hole. So this is the bottom. If this cupboard is going to have doors on, you need to take into account that your hinge is going to be about 100 up, that's what I do, and then 100 down, and then take into account the thickness of your hinge. So ultimately what I always do, my rule of thumb, is come up 100mm to the start of my first hole, and that is what I'm going to do on my template. So get my tape measure and mark 150, and then all I'm going to do, so remember as accurately as you can, 150 is come up 50mm increments, 200, 250, 300, 350, 400, 450, 500, 550, 600, 650, 750, 800, 850, 900, 950, and a meter. That's all I'm going to do at the moment for this particular template. I don't even need it that big, but I can just keep using this after the video. So the next thing you need to know is where you put your holes in relation to the depth. So I always come in 30mm, that is my preference. So 30mm to the centre of the pin, and again 30mm to the centre of the pin. So I'm going to set up my combination square, and all I'm going to do is just run that all the way up from my first line, all the way up. There we go, and then move the combination and just square over those lines. And let's put this in fast forward. Right, so now I've marked those all on, we need to mark out what the top is. So arrow at the top, turn it around as well, because it can be universal, top. And also we're going to write front. So we know every time we place it on, that's the top, so we know we're going to line it up at the bottom here. And we know this is the front, so we know we're going to line it up. And there we go. So the next thing we do is get ourselves a bit of scrap and put that on here, because I don't want to drill into this lovely birch underneath. And get a nice sharp bradle, which is a sharp point. Make sure it is sharp. Use your thumb as a guide and find that centre point. Give it a good wiggle, because when we come to drill these out, this point is going to line up that drill bit nice and accurately, so it doesn't skate all over the place. Okay, so now all of the holes have been marked. Set up your 5mm drill bit. At the moment this stopper doesn't really matter where this stopper is, because all we're doing is drilling through the template. This is set up so when we clamp it onto our workpiece and we drill through the template, it gives us the exact distance. What we need to take into account, we need about 8 to 10mm depth for this peg, and we've got a piece of 6. So that makes about 14, 16mm that we need from the tip to the start of the stopper. Anyway, what we're going to do is drill out all those holes. Stick up number 2, line up your hole, nice and straight. And make sure you just drill nice and straight. Follow those holes that you've made with the bradle. Make sure it doesn't skate off. You may get a bit of breakout on this template, but it really doesn't matter. Especially with the birch, it probably will. If we were using MDF, it probably wouldn't break out. The good thing about the birch is that it's going to last a lot longer. When we reuse the template over and over, it shouldn't round the holes off as easily as if we were using MDF. If we use MDF, then these holes would turn into sort of like 6, 7, 8mm diameter holes after 5, 10 uses, and your holes would be all over the place on your work. So there we go. And if we wanted to, we could just sand that back a little bit. Just get a bit of paper. Just get rid of the burr. There we go. So that is one template ready. Okay, so that is all we need to do with the template. We're ready to rock and roll with that. So the next thing we need to do is just line up your template nice and accurately with your workpiece. So flush at the bottom, flush at the front. I'm going to line it up with this bench here, just so I clamp it. There we go, it's nice and flush. We also really need to do this run as well. Okay. And like I said, this hole is starting 150 up. We need to do that with the same at the top. So wherever it's closest to 150 is where I'm going to stop. That's 150. That is going to be my last hole just here. So it gives the customer options for as many holes as possible. If I make it from here to here, it's not giving them that many options for holes or shelf movement. So give them maximum amount of holes. Right, like I said, I've set this up to about 16 mil and it's a bit crude. It's just masking tape just been placed over there over time and it's worked. This has worked for about 3 or 4 months. And all you need to do is put that in the hole. And like I said, it's about 16 mil from the start of the tip to the masking tape. And that allows for the thickness of the template plus an 8 to a 10 mil thickness depth hole. Okay, so get your drill lined up, nice and straight. Keep going until it hits the stopper. You've got to make sure that you're drilling straight every time. Okay, just double check. You can make a mark on your template where you want to start, so you don't drill too many holes, or put a bit of masking tape on it. If you want to be safe, then just masking tape the rest of these holes off, both sides. Otherwise you can drill out too many by accident if you're not concentrating. Right, so that is one done. Let's go ahead and do the other one. So what I'm going to do is flip this template over, flush it at the back, but before I do, let's turn it around. Now I've turned it around, it's going to be flush at this side and flush at the back edge. Clamp it on. There you go, nice and flush. And just double check where it's going to end, 150, so it's going to be finishing at this hole. Little line. Get my drill as level as I can. There we go, nice and simple. And that is how simple it can be. Just a strip of anything you like, ply ideally, as it will last longer. A 5mm drill bit, maybe with a stopper if you've got some stoppers, if not make yourself up one. A couple of clamps, bradle combination square. As you can tell, 150 up to the centre, 150 up to the centre, and all you really need to do is simply pop your pins in there and job done. Nice and simple. Right, so you can use this technique for anything, a wardrobe, a cabinet, anything you like, or you can modify what you have already to put additional shelves in without using brackets. You can use this method. Remember, if you're spanning over 600 with your shelves, make sure you beef up your shelf. I always use up to at least 25mm thickness shelves if I'm spanning over 600. But what I need to show you now is how to do the notches for the shelf itself. Okay, so I have a nice bit of birch to have as my shelf. And there you go, that's how it's going to sit. Right, so now we do have the side done. And we need that shelf to fit on there with the little notches so it doesn't slide. Let me go ahead and show you how I do that. So all I've done here is come across 30mm to the centre of my hole and 30mm. All you really need to do is exactly the same on your shelf. So if you have got a handful of shelves to do, 5, 10, 15, whatever you have, stack them up in one cube and then mark across your 30mm. And the same here, 30mm, I've already got my mark there. And then all you need to do is square them down. Yeah? So square them down across your whole pack if you're doing multiple amounts. But if not, all you really need is a little line on the top to use as a guide for your mini trimmer. So I'm going to do that on the other side as well. 30mm. 30mm. There you go. So now we've got our 30mm lines. Let's square them over a little bit more. We need to get our little trimmer out. And for this, I've got my Makita palm router, trimmer, whatever you call it, mini router. It's the RT0700C. And I've got my little stopper on here. So when I route into it, it stops and gives me the exact depth I need for my little notch. And I've also got it set up at 2mm or 3mm, whatever you prefer, 2 or 3mm sticking out. So that's what I have on the flute cutter. All I have is a 10mm flute cutter in there, very simple, and it's turned on. All we need to do, turn it on, and follow the line in the centre. Right, so there's no way of having two fences on here to give you the exact distance from here to here. What you need to do is, as you're running your router up, you need to just follow the centre of this line. Okay, so let's go ahead and do one more. Okay, so that one's a little bit rushed, but this is what you should have. Little mini notches, which is just enough. You don't need any more than 2 or 3mm for that shelf to stop sliding off the pegs, and it just goes that extra mile, doesn't it? If you're just giving someone a bookshelf with no notches, the shelf's going to move all over the place, aren't they, within the bookshelf, possibly slide off and everything's going to fall off. And that is all you really need to do. So remember, if you've got a big amount of shelves, stack them up in a pile and you can square that line down on all of them at the same time. Then all you need to do is pick up one by one and square that line across the top by about 10mm, and the centre of your cutter needs to follow that line there to give you the exact placement of that notch. Okay, let's just do 2 more. There you go. Just give a little sand, take the arris off with a bit of P240 or 180. And that is just about it. That fits on nicely like so. Very simple. That's all you really need to do. Like I said, I don't use those long metal strips. I think they look awful. I think this is very discreet. Even on alcove units, I think they look nice. These little pins are very small and they look quite nice as well. The only thing you really need to do with your components is just sand the front edges and take the arises off. I hope you've enjoyed that, guys. That is all for today. If you've enjoyed it, thumbs up. If not, leave a comment, or leave a comment anyway. Always interested to hear your thoughts. And thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Ciao for now.